Folk Tales. The Jackdaw Girls. Once there lived a mother who had 12 daughters. The 12 girls were very unruly and each had a big mouth. They were always quarrelling with each other. There was never any peace in the house, and one day their mother decided that enough was enough, and so she said, "My ears are full with your quarrels. All of you should turn into jackdaws." They flew through the open door with such haste that they nearly poked her eyes out with their wings. They left the house and took to the air. They disappeared in a westerly direction. The mother became very sad as she missed her daughters very much, but there was nothing to be done. Then she discovered that she was expecting a baby, and when the time arrived, she gave birth to a healthy baby boy. When the boy became a little older, he began to ask his mother, "Mother, have I never had a sister or a brother?" And his mother replied, "I have never had any other child except for you, my boy." But later on, the boy heard the talk in the village that he used to have 12 sisters who turned into jackdaws and flew away forever. "Mother, I have heard in the village that I used to have 12 sisters. I will not rest until I find them all." His mother tried to keep the boy at home, but to no avail. So then she filled a sack full of food and let him leave. As the boy was walking, he caught sight of a hermit's shack in the distance, and he arrived there just as the sun was setting. An old woman lived in the little shack, and he had never seen an older woman in his life before. He greeted her. "Good day, old lady." "You are fortunate that you greeted me politely, or else I would have eaten you up. What are you doing in this place that has never been seen by man or beast before?" The boy then told the old woman that he was searching for his 12 sisters who had turned into jackdaws and flown away. "Good. In the morning we shall make inquiries about them." Then she made supper for the boy and they went to sleep. Early the next morning, the old woman stood outside with the boy beside her and she blew hard on an old whistle. All the reptiles of the world gathered around in a matter of moments. The old woman asked the reptiles about a flock of jackdaws that never mixed with the other birds. None of the reptiles had any useful answers to her questions, and so the old woman ordered the reptiles to go home. So they all slithered away. The boy bid farewell to the old woman and left her. After a day's walk, he again arrived at a hermit's shack. He entered the shack and saw an old woman even older than the first. "Good evening, old lady," he said. "You are fortunate that you greeted me politely, otherwise I would have ordered bears to tear you apart. What are you doing in this place that has never been seen by man or beast before?" The boy told her the aim of his search. "Good. Maybe tomorrow morning we shall learn something more about your sisters." The boy went to bed and soon fell fast asleep. The next morning, the old woman stood outside the front door with the boy and blew hard on an old whistle. All the 4-legged beasts of the world gathered around the house in a matter of moments. "Do you know anything about 12 jackdaws that always fly alone?" "We know nothing of such birds and we have never heard of them before," the 4-legged beast replied. So the old woman sent them home with a wave of her hand. Then the boy became very sad indeed. He thanked her for her troubles and continued on his way. As he was walking, he spotted a third hermit's shack atop a huge rock, and he arrived there as the sun was setting. He walked into the shack and saw that this woman was even older than the two before her. "Good evening, old lady." "You are fortunate that you greeted me so politely, or else I would have had eagles tear you to shreds. What are you doing in this place that has never been seen by man or beast before?" So the boy told her the story of his journey. "Don't be sad, my child. I am sure that tomorrow we shall hear something about your sisters." Then she made the boy something to eat and made his bed. As soon as the sun came up, the two of them stood at the front door and the old woman blew hard on a whistle. All the winged creatures of the world gathered around the house in a blink of an eye. The old woman inspected the birds and then said angrily, "Someone is missing." Soon a raven arrived and one of its wings was bleeding. As soon as I heard your whistle, I began to fly here, but while I was flying, I saw a tall red tower. Tower was so tall that it stuck up through the clouds. And the noise the jackdaws made in that tower was worse than anything I had ever heard before, so I decided to rest a while and listen for myself. People passing by made mention of 12 jackdaws. They said that they had been living there for some years now and never let anyone go near them. But as I was eavesdropping, a hunter came along and shot a bullet into one of my wings. That is why I was late to arrive. Yours was the story we needed. You other birds can go now. So now you know where to go. Your efforts will not be in vain. When you arrive outside the tall red tower, lay these bones down on the ground and think of me. He set out once more, and after many days he arrived at the tall red tower. He did as the woman told him, and the 2 bones grew into a long ladder, and he could climb up to the jackdaws. He entered a large room where he found 11 of the jackdaws away, and the 12th in the form of a girl. The others were away collecting food. The young girl was afraid at first, but soon she became braver. She showed the boy around their home and explained all that she knew. Then the boy confessed that he was in fact their brother, and he had found them at last. Then they heard the noise of the jackdaws flying home again. So the young girl said, "Hide yourself quickly, because if I am unable to explain who you are, they will surely peck your eyes out." So the girl hid the boy in the 7th room. The 11 jackdaws soon arrived home, where they did a somersault and turned back into girls. Then the eldest of all said, "I can smell the presence of a stranger." And she tossed furniture around in her frantic search for the stranger. Then the youngest girl calmed her sisters and said, "When we left our father's house, our mother was heavy with child. She gave birth to a boy. That boy has spent many months looking for us, and now he is here to take us home to our mother and father. I hid him because I was afraid you would do him harm, because you didn't know why he was here or why he had come." Then the girls went to their brother, and they all embraced him. Before starting home, they all swore to always be good from now on. They climbed down the ladder, and the boy led them home. When they returned to the home of their birth, their mother and father were overjoyed to see their 12 daughters again. From that day on, the girls behaved so very well that they were the pride of their village. All 12 of them found a husband within the year, and all got happily married. And their brave brother found a pretty girl to be his bride, and they all lived happily ever after. Hungarian Folk Tales. Jack Crow. Once upon a time, a very long time ago, there lived an elderly couple who had nothing in the world except a young son they called Jack Crow. As soon as the boy was old enough to know his own mind, he told his parents, "I've decided to go out into the world to find work with a wealthy family." His elderly parents did not protest, and so Jack Crow set forth to seek his fortune. When he reached the edge of the village, he caught sight of a swarm of ants marching from one field to the next across the road. And right at the back, he saw a single lame ant that fell by the wayside and could not rejoin its friends. So Jack Crow helped the little ant back to its tiny feet. "Thank you for your kind help," said the ant. "In return for your good deed, I shall give you this whistle. Whenever you're in trouble, blow it, and I'll come to your aid in an instant." So Jack Crow put it in his pocket and continued on his way. As the moon rose in the sky, he found himself in the middle of a vast forest, where a white-haired old man lived in a small house. "Good evening, old man," said Jack. "Good evening to you too, son. What brings you to this distant place?" the old man asked. "I'm looking for a wealthy family who will employ me to work, but now I simply need shelter for the night," Jack Crow told him. So the old man let him stay for the night, and in the morning he gave him some wise advice. "Well, my boy, you should follow the track through the forest, where you will find a vast meadow. There you'll discover a giant mountain. On top of that mountain stands a castle crafted from pure gold, and that is where the king resides. I happen to know that the king needs servants, so I suggest you go there to seek employ." So Jack Crow thanked the old man and continued on his way. When he reached the edge of the forest, he noticed a flock of crows flying around something on the ground a little way ahead. There he found a crow flapping helplessly around because its feathers were heavy with morning dew and it could not get off the ground. Young Jack took pity on the bird, picked it up and petted and patted it until all its feathers had dried. Then the bird said, "Now hear me, Jack Crow. You've done me a good deed, so in turn I shall give you this whistle. If you're ever in trouble, blow it, and I shall come to your aid in an instant." Jack soon came to the foot of the mountain on the shores of the sea. As he stood and stared out, he saw the waves toss a fish from the waters that landed flapping on the ground. Jack took pity on the fish and gently helped it back into the salty water. When the fish was fully recovered, it said, "In return for your good deed, you can expect another. I know you have 2 whistles already, so let me give you a third. If ever you're in trouble, blow it, and I'll come to your aid in an instant." So Jack hurried to the castle on top of the mountain. There the king greeted him and asked, "Well, what can I do for you, my fine fellow?" "I seek work with a wealthy family, your majesty." And the king said, "In my kingdom, 3 days are the same as a full year. The payment is 300 florins, and you can eat and drink your fill. But if you fail to obey my commands, I shall have you executed." On the first day, just after sunset, the king had Jack brought before him and said, "Now hear me, Jack Crow. You are now my servant, so I command you go into the barnyard where you'll find 3 piles of millet. By morning, I want you to sort the seeds from the straw. If you fail to complete my command, I shall have you executed." Jack Crow was worried out of his wits. What should he do? Then he suddenly remembered the whistle the ant had given him, and he blew it. Out of nowhere, a huge swarm of ants appeared. There were so many of them that not even 1,000,000 men could have counted them. "How can we help you, Jack, my friend?" "I've been given a task impossible to complete," Jack said. And he told the ant what the king had commanded. "Have no fear," the ants told him. "We'll get hard to work and sort all the seeds from the straw by morning." By the time the sun had risen in the morning sky, the millet seeds and the straw were in 2 separate stacks. The king said, "I see you've done a good job, so now you are free for the rest of the day. But you must report to me again this evening." When evening came, the king said, "My faithful servant, I command you to go to the front of my castle where my 3 daughters are strolling back and forth. I want you to make sure they come to no harm. If you fail your task, I'll have you executed." Jack did as he was bid and sat down in front of the entrance to the castle to keep watch over the 3 princesses. And as Jack sat there, he grew so bored and tired that he fell fast asleep. And the 3 princesses turned into crows and flew away. Young Jack woke with a start to see the girls had vanished. He was worried out of his wits until he remembered the whistle the crow had given him. He blew the whistle, and a flock of crows arrived. "How can we help you, friend?" "I'm so very sad because I have a task impossible to complete. The king commanded me to watch over his 3 daughters, but I dozed off and all 3 princesses vanished," Jack replied. "Fear not," the crows told him. "We shall find them for you. Climb up on my back and we'll fly off in search of the 3 lost princesses." So Jack climbed onto the crow's back and they flew off into the distance, but the princesses were nowhere to be found. So then they flew behind the moon, where they saw the princesses in the shape of crows. Then Jack threw 3 reins around the crows' necks and led them slowly back down into the castle courtyard. On the evening of the 3rd day, the king again ordered that Jack be brought before him. The king said, "I command you to go and find the gold ring which fell off my finger today and rolled into the sea. If you fail the task, I'll have you executed." Jack knew that this was impossible to solve alone, and so he ran to the seashore, where he blew on the whistle that the fish had given him. A shoal of fish appeared in an instant and asked, "How can we help you, friend?" There Jack Crow quickly told them what he had been commanded to do. "Don't worry, friend," said the king of the fish. "We shall do our best to find that ring for you." The fish searched and dawn was almost breaking, but they still had not found the ring, until they found it in the belly of an enormous goldfish. "Well, my faithful servant," said the king, "you've done an honest job of serving me. In return, I will give you the hand of one of my daughters in marriage, half of my kingdom, and 3 cartloads of gold for good measure." However, Jack Crow did not want to marry and did not want half the kingdom, for all he wanted was the gold, and the king happily gave it to him. Jack Crow drove the 3 carts home to his beloved parents, where they ate good food and drank fine wine, and all lived happily ever after. Hungarian Folk Tales. The pin, the dog, the crayfish, the egg, and the cockerel. Once upon a time, a very long time ago, there was a little pin that was very bored in the sewing box. And the little pin thought it would go out and see the world. The pin walked and walked, and as it was walking along, it met a dog, and the dog said, "Where are you going, friend?" "Why, I'm going out to see the world." "Then I shall go with you too." "Please do." They walked and walked, and as they were walking, they met a crayfish. The crayfish said, "Where are you going to, friend?" "Why, I'm going out to see the world." "Then I shall go with you too." "Please do." They walked and walked, and they were walking along when they met a rotten egg. The egg said, "Where are you going, friend?" "Why, I'm going out to see the wide world." "Then I shall go with you too." "Please do." They walked and walked, and they were walking when they met a cockerel. The cockerel said, "Where are you going to, friend?" "Why, I'm going out to see the world." "Then I shall go too." "Please do." They walked and walked until they arrived in the back of beyond, and night began to fall around them and the sky grew dark. The 4 of them looked for a place to lay their heads for the night, but they found themselves in a vast forest and searched for a place to sleep. Then they caught sight of a cottage, where they decided to go and ask for shelter. They walked into the cottage, but found that it was empty inside. "It doesn't matter that no one's at home. We can still sleep here for the night." and each found a place to lay its head. The pin stuck into a towel, the egg rolled into the ashes, the crayfish sat in the wash basin, the cockerel roosted on top of the fence, and the dog lay down on the shady porch. Then they all fell fast asleep because they were tired from all the walking they had done that day. The cottage was owned by 3 foxes that had gone down into the town to steal chickens from farms as the darkness descended. Now the 3 foxes came running home. As they ran, twigs cracked under their feet, and the cockerel heard them approaching and crowed a warning to its friends. The foxes stopped for a second when they heard the crowing, but then they ran quickly on. Then the dog took notice and began to bark. The foxes stopped again when they heard the dogs barking. What could be happening at the cottage, they thought. But then they carried quickly on. When the foxes arrived, the cockerel crowed, the dogs snapped at their heels, but they carried quickly on into the cottage. But a terrible surprise still awaited them. The father fox said to its son, "Quickly go and look for a coal in the ashes, that we can light a lamp and see what's happening in the cottage." One of the fox's sons went to the fireplace and sorted through the ashes. But the egg blew up in the fox's face, so it ran to the basin for water where the crayfish lay that pinched the fox hard. It tried and tried to shake the crayfish from its paw. It grabbed the towel to dry itself and the pin pricked it sharply. "Run away! We need to run from this terrible place!" And the foxes ran and ran and ran away, and may still be running till this very day. Hungarian Folk Tales. The Hare and the Hedgehog. One sunny summer day, a hare and a hedgehog met in the meadow. The hare began to tease the hedgehog and said, "Hey, hedgehog, how can you even walk alone, let run with those stumpy little legs of yours?" This upset the hedgehog. "Well, I'm sure I can run faster with my little legs than you can run with your lanky long ones." Now the hare was upset. "I don't believe that." "Well, if you don't believe it, hare, let's make a wager." So the two of them placed their wagers, and then the hare said to the hedgehog, "Well then, hedgehog, shall we race?" To this the hedgehog said, "Tomorrow morning, when the 8 o'clock train leaves the station." The hare said, "But why not now, hedgehog? Because I have to go home to eat my supper. Let's meet again here tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock sharp." So the hedgehog went home. After they had eaten, the hedgehog told his wife what had happened. "Just imagine, I made a wager with the hare that I can run faster than him." The hedgehog's wife said, "Don't be foolish. How could you possibly run faster than the hare?" "Well, we'll find that out tomorrow morning." The following morning, the hedgehogs got up, ate a hearty breakfast, and went out to the meadow. They didn't go to the place where they should meet the hare, but instead stood at the other end of the meadow. Then the hedgehog told his wife to hide herself in a furrow. He told her, "When the hare arrives, you are to shout out, 'I'm already here, hare!'" Then the hedgehog walked to the far end of the meadow where he met the hare. "Hello there, hare." "Hello there, hedgehog. Are you ready to race?" "Yes, I am." "Then shall we run?" "Yes, let's run." "But how shall we run over such a bumpy field?" The hedgehog said, "It's simple. I shall run in one furrow and you in another, and so we won't bump into each other while we're racing." "That sounds like a very good idea." Then the hare stood ready in one furrow and the hedgehog in another, and the hedgehog told the hare, "I shall count, and when I get to 3, we start to run." And then the hedgehog counted, 1, 2, 3. Then they both began to run, but the hedgehog only ran 2 steps and hid himself deep in the furrow. But the hedgehog's wife was sitting waiting at the other end of the meadow when the hare arrived, and she shouted, "I'm already here, hare!" And the hare said, "That was no good. Let's race again." Then they turned back and began to run in the opposite direction, but this time the hedgehog's wife only ran 2 steps and hid herself deep in the furrow. The hare did his best to run faster than he had ever run before. But when the hare arrived back at the beginning of the meadow, the hedgehog said, "I'm already here, hare." That was no good. Let's race once more. So they turned around and ran back again, but the hedgehog quickly hid in the furrow again. The poor hare ran as fast as his legs would carry him, and when he got to the other end of the meadow, the hedgehog's wife said, "I'm already here, hare." "That was no good," said the hare. "Let's run one last time." But the foolish hare felt dizzy and his legs began to tremble, and he stood in the middle of the meadow, too tired to continue. The little hedgehogs laughed at the silly hare. They had won. The pair of them laughed all the way home, and they are probably still laughing to this very day. Hungarian Folk Tales. The Frog, the Mouse, and the Sausage. A long time ago, far, far away, there lived a little frog. And the frog met a mouse and a sausage. All 3 began to talk, and they decided to become best friends for life. The mouse did all the cleaning, the frog did all the shopping, and the sausage cooked all the food. And the 3 friends lived like this for a month and a day. The sausage cooked such delicious food that they were always left licking their lips. And no matter how much they ate, it was never enough because the food was so delicious. When the month was over, the sausage said, "We should really take turns, so who is going to cook the food instead of me?" "Why not the frog?" they said. So then they made the frog their cook. The frog tried this kind of dish, and that kind of dish, and that kind of dish, and this kind of dish, but he could never cook anything the others liked to eat. He carried on cooking for a couple of days, but then they asked him to stop. "You are a very bad cook, Frog," they told him. The frog felt very ashamed. "Well then, Croak, who will do the cooking now?" So the sausage said, "We'll make it the mouse's job." So the mouse became the cook. And it cooked for a couple of days, but it cooked so badly that it asked the sausage, "Why don't you cook instead of us?" "Yes, Croak, why don't you cook instead?" the frog asked. But the sausage could only say, "I had my turn of cooking, and if you don't want to cook, then we'll have to break this friendship up." But they begged and begged the sausage until it finally agreed to cook for a couple of days more. The frog thought it could learn to cook by watching the sausage. Well, when the soup was nearly done, the sausage pulled it aside. And when it thought nobody was looking, it jumped into the soup. Aha! Croak. Now I know why the soup tastes so good. Because the sausage always jumps into it first. Now I know how to cook. Then the frog offered to cook for them again. Now I will be the cook, Croak. I know how to cook. So the frog put a big pot of water on the stove and made a big fire to get it good and hot. And it cooked it and cooked it. When it thought that the contents of the pot had cooked enough, the frog didn't wait for it to cool, but hopped right into the boiling hot soup. Well, the water was so terribly hot that it made the poor frog's skin all slimy and wrinkled, and that is where toads come from. Then the frog had to stop cooking because the hot soup had scalded it so. The mouse and the sausage laughed at the foolish frog when it told them the story, and they decided not to be friends any longer. So they all went their separate ways, and they all lived happily ever after.